Hello, I'm Neil Thompson, and I want to take this opportunity to say a few words about why I wrote my book, Theorizing Practice. Throughout my career, I've had an interest in the relationship between theory and practice. I've always been fascinated by the way in which, on the one hand, we have such a useful knowledge base there that we can draw on, but on the other hand, so many people seem to reject that knowledge base and come up with silly ideas like, I prefer to stick to practice, as if practice has got nothing to do with the knowledge base that we draw on. Now, of course, that's hardly a professional approach to our work, but sadly it's not an uncommon one. So what I've wanted to do throughout my career is to help people understand better the importance of the relationship between theory and practice. But one concern I've had throughout that time is that the traditional idea of the relationship is that we should apply theory to practice. So we're expected to begin with theory, begin with the professional knowledge base, if you like, and then somehow apply that to practice, link it to practice in some way. And of course, that's a difficult thing to do because the professional knowledge base, the theory base is so complex. There are so many different aspects to it. Sometimes it's contradictory and so on. So the idea of applying theory to practice in a simple, straightforward way, to my mind, has never really worked. It's never been a helpful concept. So what I've been doing over the years is developing the idea of theorizing practice. And what I mean by theorizing practice is, instead of starting with theory and aiming for practice, is that we start with practice, begin with a concrete real life practice situation while we're actually engaged in our work, and then use our professional knowledge base, use theory, research and so on to illuminate what we do, to help us understand what's going on, to understand the social context in which we're operating, to understand the dynamics that are going on between the different people involved, to understand the nature of the problems that we're trying to address, and so on. So there isn't an easy, straightforward answer, but what it's about is looking at how what we know, the knowledge base that's been developed over decades, how that can cast some light on the situation that we are dealing with. As I say, there won't be easy answers. It's not about theory providing a formula solution to practice. What it's about is making sure that our practice is informed practice, and that's where our professional knowledge base comes in. So to theorize practice, what's involved is begin with a practice situation and then think, what do I know about this situation? What can my professional knowledge base tell me about the issues involved? Now, of course, you have to use that knowledge base critically, because the knowledge base is not perfect, it's not foolproof. There is always room for development, but it's a case of using the best knowledge available to us to try and make sense of the complex situations we are engaged in. So that's the idea of theorizing practice. Rather than, as we've traditionally done, think about applying theory to practice and then struggling to fit the two together, to look at it much more constructively the other way around. Begin with practice situations and then in practice draw on the relevant aspects of the professional knowledge base. Now, of course, that's not going to be simple and straightforward. It's not about some sort of painting by numbers approach, but that's where reflective practice comes in. So theorizing practice and reflective practice are closely linked. They're, in a sense, two sides of the same coin. Because if we think about it, people have often struggled with the idea of reflective practice. They're told to reflect, to think, but then wondering, well, what do I reflect on? What do I think on? That's been a common comment to me on training courses I've run about reflective practice, for example. But we can be much clearer now in terms of thinking what we're reflecting on, what we're thinking about is how can our professional knowledge base cast light on the situation I am currently engaged in. So that's it in a nutshell. That's what theorizing practice is all about. As I see it, it's a much more fruitful approach than the traditional idea of applying theory to practice. Hope this has been helpful. Thank you.